This is Fred Beck from Fred Talks Fighting. Today we're very lucky to be joined by MTK's newly signed nutrition, Greg Marriott. So thank you very much for coming on, Greg.
No problem, pal.
So how are you, Greg, and how's training with Billy Joe Saunders and the rest of the team in Fuerteventura?
All good, mate. All good. Still sunshine out here, so you can't grumble. Fuerteventura's there's not much to do. Like I said, eat, sleep, train, repeat. So it's perfect for training camp, to be fair. Perfect. Just tell me.
So my first question is, when a fighter is cutting weight, let's use Billy Joe Saunders as an example. What's a safe starting weight for him to start at so he can make the cut down to super middleweight?
160. No, listen, to be fair, I mean, every fighter's different. And I mean, to be honest, a lot of fighters, they come to me 4 weeks to a fight and, you know, they're big, they're overweight. And it's just like, you think you've got a magic wand, you know, and it's just, listen, you can get them to weight, but it's at what cost? You know, every fighter's going to be, you know, drained at some point. So a lot of fighters do blow up, but depends how many weeks you've got for a camp. For me, a normal camp would be if you come into camp fit, 8 to 10 weeks. Should be 8 weeks really. If you come in if Billy Joe Saunders will come into camp, I'd want him no more than probably 20 pound over his weight. You know, really. You know, so if you've got 10 weeks and if you 20 pound, 18 pound, £2 a week, it's maintaining safe weight loss to that date. So if you've got a 10-week camp, you've got £20 to lose £2 a week. It's relatively easy to do, you know, and you're going to get the best out of the athlete that way.
How do you rehydrate a fighter? So say they've weighed in on the scales and immediately after they've weighed in, they always drink loads of water so they can rehydrate. How much water do they normally drink after weighing in?
All depends how much they've lost, Fred. And this is a misconception that everybody overlooks and gets wrong. Now, I see fighters, and for years now, for many years, I've seen people get on scales, and straight away they'll do the old Nando's trick. They'll go straight to Nando's and eat. Now, very, very basic, and this is just the body's science, how it works. When you if you cut in weight and you've really dehydrated, say they make in silly saunas or they're in a sweatsuit and they're running and they're doing crazy things. If you're dehydrated and you've been dehydrated for longer than 3 days, and most boxers will be like that. As soon as you're dehydrated and if you eat carbohydrates, that the process then for rehydration kind of halts. You can't really get a maximum. You can't get the benefits from rehydration at its maximum, because as you eat one gram of carbohydrate, 2.7 gram roughly of water, intracellular water that's in your body, will follow that carbohydrate as you're eating it. Do you understand? So in layman's terms, just to simplify it, as soon as you eat, water has to follow that carbohydrate in your body. I don't mean bottled water, just water that's stored. If no water is stored in the body, and 99% of boxers, they haven't because they've dehydrated, as soon as you eat, the last place of that dehydration, the water to come at it's around your brain. So obviously the body's not daft, you know, it'll stay around your brain. It won't take that. You start eating loads and loads of carbs after they're weighing like they do, and the water gets decreased from around the brain. They feel good, then they start drinking, but they're not going to get the maximum effect of the rehydration because there's all that carb still in the system trying to get intracellular water to push through. So, you know, fighters feel great, they look great, you know, they get in the ring and then, wow, what's happened? You know, you see them take a shot and bang, they're completely gone. And that's because all the rehydration has been completely wrong and they've not got no fluid around the brain. Listen, it's really, really dangerous. And it's there's so many fighters out there getting it wrong. And you just think, I try to stress this every time I come on to interviews and I talk to people and say, you know, if you've lost a lot of water weight, whatever water weight you lose, if you do a water cut, which I'll always do with my fighters, majority elite fighters, if you're going to do a water cut, whatever water you lose, put back in put back in water-wise, and obviously electrolytes. So a basic one for simple fighters out there are going to be anything like the electrolyte drinks. There's many out market now, as simple as the diurelytes. A lot of people use them. Just very simple, but you've got to get that fluid back in before you eat. And I'd say to fighters out there, do make sure you urinate. Do make sure you run it and really make sure that's getting pretty clear. You know, it can be, make sure it's not dark yellow before you even touch any food. You know, that's just a very simple analogy of what we do, but it's as you can understand, it's a lot more intense and there's a lot more scientific to it. You know, it has to be done exactly to the mill, to the weight, whatever it is. We weigh after, have a look, and so it is very intricate, but as a fighter just listening to this, then yes, please do that. Don't just go and eat straight at Nando's, because you're getting it all wrong.
So you're saying there, but you must drink as much water as possible before eating. So what food?
Whatever water weight you lose. So if, let's say if you say, you lose 6 pounds or 7 pounds, get that back in water. Get that water weight back on. You've got to put that fluid back in, you know, and through electrolytes. You know, you don't just eat. Yes, definitely.
Okay, so you mentioned there putting all the water weight back on. What food should you eat after that?
All depends. I mean, for me, as a nutritionist, people like to. I'd start you straight on something like an high glycemic carbohydrate, potato, white, something very, very simple. Something very so white potato. But some people like pasta. For some people, it sits a bit too heavy. White rice, anything like that. To be fair, it's all about the carb at this point. So loads of people put loads of chicken on and stuff like that, but it's not about that, you know. It's about the carb. So you can put a bit of chicken on there to flavour it, a bit of sauce, but you don't want anything too heavy. You don't want to be eating anything heavy and anything that's fat. So like a lot of people go and have a big fatty meal, but anything that's fat-based will slow the absorption of the carbohydrate down. That's not what you want. You're trying to get back to put everything, maximum energy in your body. You don't want anything to really slow that down. For fighters, some fighters do like to eat red meat. You see old Chisora cooking a steak other night before his fight. I mean, he's an heavyweight, don't get me wrong, but for fighters after they've weighed in, obviously he's an heavyweight, I'd never really touch red meat, to be fair, for my fighters. I think the digestion's a bit too slow on it. But like, everyone's different, you know, everyone's got their preference, and you will see fighters who like different things. I've got to have this before I, you know, fight, this chocolate bar or something, because it's a bit mental. But obviously, when you've done a camp with someone for 8 to 10 weeks, you know, you can learn them the new ways. You know, if they don't know, they don't know. And it's not about being ignorant, it's just about being uneducated, Fred.
And so when your fighter's cutting weight, do you ever have to keep them motivated in camp?
I think that's a bigger job than nutrition itself, to be honest. I think it's for me, nutrition is not just saying, you know, here's your breakfast and off you go and stick to that. It's not about that, Fred. It's about managing that specific person, you know, because I've come across so many athletes, and you tell them to do something, and, you know, if you're not living with them, if you're not on them, if you're not on that same wavelength, you know, it's never going to work, because they'll just do exactly what they want to do. If you try, it's like playing tug of war. You know, there's someone's going to come off best, and it's not about that, and someone's going to come off worse. It's about working as a team. So for me, it's about managing that person. It's about managing Billy Joe Saunders. I know every trick in book that he tries to play. You know, I understand when he's getting moody. I understand when he probably needs a little bit of a refeed. Now, a refeed might be, a nice steak up at one at restaurants here with a bit of trimmings on. But obviously, I'll tell him when that's allowed. But I can see when that time comes. I like Kell Brook, work with Kell. I'm working with Kell now. Obviously, he's over in Vegas, and you can just, when you've worked with someone that long and you get that relationship with them, it's very, very easy to understand how people are. So you've got to work really, really close with people, not just physically, mentally, you know, so they trust you. You've got to earn that trust as a nutritionist. You know, you can't just tell them off you go, because they won't trust you. And I practice what I post, I practice what I preach. You know, I sit here and do the diets with them. I'm in shape myself, and whatever they eat, you know, sometimes in camp I'll sit along and eat it with them, and you know, do the diets with them. So it's very much being a part of them, not just being an outside nutritionist. Stick to that and off you go. You've got to be a part of them.
And so you mentioned Kell Brook there, who's in Vegas now training for Crawford.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that you've also got to keep an eye on them, and then you know what makes them tick. Is it hard being Kell's nutritionist when he's all the way over there in Vegas? And
you know what?
You can't keep an eye on him.
I was going to go, but obviously with the current climate in the pandemic, it's a bit of a nightmare, you know, getting restrictions, going over to US, and I might get stuck over there and not be able to come back here and see Billy Joe. So, you know, Kell's in a very, very good place at the minute. You know, he's got his team out there, and I'm still under his nutrition. And to be honest with you, I did think this one might be a problem at first, but I'm on the phone to him 3-4 times a day. The time difference is a bit bad, so I'm not getting much sleep, but you know, that's a professional job you've got to keep up. You know, he might phone me at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, you know, give me his weight. But just by looking at him the other day, I said to him, I says, you need a bit of you need feeding up a bit. I says, you need a rest day. And I've worked with Kell for what, 6-7 years, and I can just read him like a book. I know what his weight's going to be before it, you know, the day after, on the night before. I'll tell him what he's going to wake up at, and I can see, you know, you're going to have a big drop tomorrow, and he does. I can read him like a book. So to be honest with you, he's out there, he's absolutely flying. His weight's going unbelievably. Listen, anyone's going to say that, I'm going to say that, but it really, really is. And I think you're going to see a massive shock. You're going to see best performance in Kell Brook, I promise you, on that November 14th. And it's going to be fireworks because everyone's expecting, I think, you know, him just to lay down and Crawford to just take him easy. But they're in for a shock. I can guarantee you that.
When you fought Spence, I think it's back in 2017, what's going to be different about this weight cut now and that weight cut back 3 years ago?
Listen, I'm not going to lie. That you know as well as I do, in the boxing game, you have to take your chance, and the chance had to come around. You know, you had to fight Spence. For that camp, no one mentioned it, but only till after, and it wasn't sour grapes, because I went in the dressing room and I congratulated him on his win. But the camp, Kell had a massive chest infection about 6 weeks before that fight, and he got over it, and then it hit him again a week after, and we were just like, what do we do? He couldn't train, he couldn't even talk, and there were 4 or 5 weeks to go. And we're just thinking, you know, is he going to make it? And then he came alive. He did come alive. But did it take something from Kell? In hindsight, yeah, I think it did. But, you know, as a team, you know, he started flying. He started ticking again. He started ticking all boxes. And it's not, you're talking about a multi-million mega pound fight. You know, it's not something you just think, oh, we'll just postpone it till next week. So we all came as a team and decided, yeah, let's go for it. But I think it was Kell beats himself in that fight. You know, mentally, I think it's Kell against the world. You know, just for this fight, he's got nothing really riding on it. You know, everyone's expecting him to lose. He's the underdog, just like you were for Sean Porter. Everyone didn't think he was going to rip it out of his back garden, and a lot of pressure got put on Kell for that fight. Obviously, after coming off defeat a Golovkin in his eye, and I think when his eye socket went in the Errol Spence fight, I do think that obviously, you know, them demons came back to haunt him in the ring, you know, and I think it wasn't the best scenario, to be fair, and I do think that played a massive factor, you know, and I think it has done for many years with Kell after that fight, you know, because he knows how good he is, and he just said to me, he says, watch this, I'm having one last shot. And as his nutritionist and as his friend, you know, I can say, yeah, he's going to. But as a realist, I can say that he's never looked as good. He sent me a photo the other day and promised me not to send it out to anybody. And I was dying to put it on my Instagram. But wow, yeah, I don't want to scare nobody. But honestly, he's already there for me with the weight. He's absolutely flying. And to be honest with you, right now, I'm more worried of him peaking and just taking it, you know, he needs to step off gas a tiny bit than actually struggling.
And I think one of the big factors in the Spence fight was he was fighting he was defending his IBF title, and for the IBF is a rehydration clause. He's fighting Crawford's WBO title, and there won't be a rehydration clause.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
Big factor in that fight. But one of the things that I think worries a lot of Kell Brook fans is he's not training with Dominic Ingle. How much of an impact do you think that will make on his performance?
I mean, to be honest with you, one of the I've always said, listen, one of the best. As I was talking earlier about getting in someone's mind and mentally being with somebody beyond that same wavelength, I don't think there's anybody out there for Kell better than Dominic Ingle for that job. Or I don't know the new trainer. He might be. Obviously, I can't speak for that because I don't know him. But obviously, listen, Kell's made a decision. Dom couldn't go out of there because obviously got fighters over here with the COVID. It's all just been a bit of a weird year. And listen, it is a business and a selfish sport. Kell had to come away and had to do his thing and get his mind on track. And unfortunately, that was without Dominic. But I'm not, to be honest with you, I don't think right now for Kell's mindset that's going to do anything. I don't think it's going to be better or worse. I just think it'll be the same because I don't think, I've not got Dominic. You know, he knows what he needs to do. Listen, he's been boxing all his life. No one can actually teach him anything new, you know, at all. It's about obviously managing him. If he feels confident with this trainer, then obviously, you know, and he feels like he's flying his 100%, then that's all really Kell needs. Obviously, you know, it'd been great for him to be with Dom for this one, but you know, life takes different turns. But I'm glad you managed to. You mentioned the rehydration clause because for the IBF that's been a massive problem in Kell's career always. You know, just before he with the amount of fluid Kell can put back on, and when he eats, he's probably at that limit after his first meal. You know, it's crazy. It is crazy. And we do water load for the rehydration. So it's always been hard for Kell. Really, really, really hard for Kell. You know, he's always struggling, having to hold him back. For this one, I'm scared of him putting too much on. You know, because it's for 10-7, we've never done this. We've never made 10-7 and then not had a rehydration clause. So it's going to be new territory. But you know, it's challenging. It's fun because we've got to play around with it. You know, we don't have to say, we have to wake up at a certain weight and you have to put him to bed and he's still hungry. You know, he's like a caged lion. So I think it'll be fun. But no, I don't think having Dominic in his corner is not going to be a massive physical factor. If anything, mentally. But I think he's that switched on, and I know he thinks he's the underdog. I think he wants to prove all the doubters wrong. You know, he's just going in there like so focused that I don't think that's going to play a factor, to be honest.
And you mentioned Kell's mindset there as well. And obviously of IFL, he's been going back and forth with Eddie Hearn about like Sky contracts and the money. Do you have an opinion on that, or do you tend to stay out of that?
Do you know? Listen, I watch it. I was just watching it and laughing. You know, I watched it and laughing because. Listen, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't get involved in that side of things at all. You know, you see a lot of things on social media, and to be fair, it's a bit of fun. But like today, it's become, you know, yesterday's chip shop paper kind of thing. You know, news is always flying around and it gets forgot. But listen, it makes good TV. But I just think that I don't know anything about that. I've never known Kell's ins and outs with anything. You know, I've always known that obviously Eddie Hearn's been there for Kell, and I think he holds a special place in his heart for Kell. So I think obviously, you know, I think that touched a bit of a heartstring, but I don't. In Kell's defence, I don't think they were probably, as Eddie said, you know, Kell's words. I don't know.
I think it helps the fight. I think it helps promote the fight.
Yeah. Listen, it all makes for good TV, doesn't it? You know, I do tend to stick out of things. I watched it and, like I say, I was just laughing. I was just thinking, oh God, here we go again. You know, but it makes for good watching. It makes for good views, and I can imagine it's got a lot. They've both got a lot of views. So, but no, I don't tend to get involved with things like that. I just do know that obviously, listen, number one in the game. Minute, you know, Sky Matchroom, Eddie, he's doing his thing, but he's always been there for Kell. But obviously, like I said, for this one, he just decided to do this one on his own and go his own way. And it's like I say, he just said to him, it's just business. So there's no
such thing as bad publicity for the fight. I mean, Eddie Hearn's been a Kell Brook for a long time. He's gone to America with Sean Porter. Even when Kell Brook, he got stabbed in the leg. Eddie went over. I can't remember where it was. I want to talk about one of the other fighters, Billie Joe Saunders. She's just been recently matched up with Martin Murrey.
Yep.
There's a lot of criticism. There's a lot of criticism about this fight. About why is he not fighting Callum Smith? They're under the same promoter. Why not Andrade? They're under the same promoter. Well, how I see it is, obviously fighters are fighters. Billy would love to fight Callum now, but you can't go into a fight with Callum Smith, Canelo, Andrade after a year out of the ring because they're peak athletes, and you want to be on the best shape and the best form you can be right now.
Yep.
How do you see Billy's fight going with Martin Murray?
If you'd asked me this, probably in lockdown, I'd have said he probably wouldn't have fought this year. But listen, Billy's one of them fighters who, and he'll tell you himself, he doesn't train. He keep training. He has a 12-week camp, jumps in, and he's a two-weight world champion. I mean, that's something very, very special. What only elite people can do. And I put people in that category, like Kell, like Tyson, like Kell when he's on his day. I do. There's very few people who've got that tenacity about them who can just turn it on. But to be honest with this fight, definitely they needed to have no disrespect to Martin Murray, and he's covered, obviously he's not on a level like Canelo. We know that, but listen, he's a tough old cookie. Age is a factor, but he's going to be coming all night. He's not going to lay down for nobody. Martin Murray is very, very tough. I like him. I do. Met him once before. He's a nice guy, but with the COVID and everything this year, not being able to train in gyms, unexpected, unprecedented times, not knowing if we could go out to Fuerteventura, if we're going to get back. Everything's just been just put on hold. And then we can go, and then we have to come back. And then, listen, not just the COVID, other things have happened, personal things, different people in camp. So it's just been a whirlwind year, and the camp's not actually been the greatest, for anybody. We've had to change different things. So there's, apart from obviously a few big fights, there's not been like the massive ones, and I think it's a good thing that didn't happen this year, because we've not been able to get to the universities where we train and get that peak performance like we did just before the lockdown for the Canelo fight. We've got everything on point. We've got people coming out, doing his runs, taking little blood lipid tests to make sure everything will bang on. And for this one, we just couldn't do that. I'm not saying that's why he's fighting Martin Murray, but obviously it's been a long camp. We went to Dubai January, came back, Manchester, Vegas, lockdown, and then Fuerteventura. This is the third time we've been back here, and we've not had a fight yet. So yes, definitely he needs to have that. And I'm not saying it's a warm up or a tune up. I'm not. He just needs to get in the ring. He does. He does just need to get in the ring. And if it had been Callum Smith, he'd have welcomed the opportunity. If Eddie had said, "I'm sorry, mate, but it's Andrade," he wouldn't have said no. He'd have said, "Yeah, all right, let's do it." But it is that type of kid. If they'd probably given Canelo December, they'd probably said, let's do it then. But it is better, because this camp will roll on to next year, and I think you're going to see fireworks. Because listen, everyone's itching to get back and see, crowds and big fights again. We all are. So everything happens for a reason. Is it a blessing in disguise? Maybe.
I think anyone who gets a fight this year, because some fighters even got 2 fights in 2020. Anyone who gets a fight, I think, is very, very lucky. And
Definitely.
One more question, Greg, and I want to get your opinion on the actual weight cut.
Yep.
Because there's a lot I know MMA weight cuts are more severe than boxing weight cuts, but do you think everyone should just fight at their normal weight classes?
As what? So they should what?
Do you think everyone should fight at their normal weight classes rather than having to cut down to weight?
No, because I think that's the advantage, isn't it, of a fighter? I mean, if you're too overweight, obviously then it becomes, I'm not saying dangerous for the fighter, but it's not the best. But you need to be. It's like Kell at welterweight. He's got if he makes it properly, that's his massive advantage. That's the massive advantage. I mean, some governing bodies like the IBF, they put that £10 rule in there. And for me, that's actually more. That's not safeguarding. It's probably going to be more detrimental to Kell to not put that weight on than actually keeping £10 from him. Because kids will kill themselves to get to weight. They will do. And they do it without nutritionists and without proper guidance. So, to be honest with you, in a safe way, I think it's fine in a safe way. But there's such a lack of information out there for people, and it's just that's what worries me. That's what worries me. But just echoing on the fact on your last comment about people are lucky to get a fight this year. Listen, there's been that many shows that I didn't expect. And to be honest with you, like I say, I know I'm obviously MTK nutritionist, but MTK they do put the fighter first, and they have got together so many shows for people, done so many things behind the scenes, what people don't see. And I just think in this current climate, it's just like, wow, the ongoings that do happen to give these kids the opportunity just for one fight and a platform. It's just everyone's working non-stop, and it's just listen, thank you for MTK, because if it wasn't like that this year, then no one would have work. I won't be here with Billy and vice versa. And I just want to say a massive thank you to keeping this train going in this pandemic, because it's a changing time. It's a changing time, and I just God hope it just goes back to a norm, after Christmas, and we can get back to normality.
Yeah, and a lot of people always are saying that, live sports shouldn't be happening, or it's not just the boxers who are missing out, it's also nutritionists, the coaches, the commentators,
Exactly.
everyone else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So thank you very much for your time, Greg. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Where can people find you on social media at?
MTK Nutritionist.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much, Greg.
Fred, good man. Thank you for today. Been a pleasure.